all the candidates showing up here, and we're going to try and sell water. If it gets a little long-winded with some, we're going to sorry. So we'll try and be as civil and respectful as we can for each other. So I'll start, I guess. Joe Mineral, Village of Marvin, mayor. I've been there since 2013, and lived in the Firethorn neighborhood, and lived here now coming up on 21 years. So was an HOA board member, and then got involved with the local politics here. So happy to be here. I'll go this way first.
My name is Wayne Deathbridge. I'm a councilman, and I've lived in the area since 1981. I'm married with 2 kids, 3 grandkids, which all live in Union County and on the school. I am planning growth and development. I am for preservation of open space to complement the character of the village in which we live. In pursuit of my vision, the following principles will be needed to be followed. Get the simple things straight and get them right. Be set realistic and unrealistic goals. Don't set high and you won't make anything. Be prepared for occasional failure. Be prepared for satisfaction and non-satisfaction outcomes. Don't underestimate the project at hand. And don't make excuses when it doesn't work.
Hello everyone. Good evening. My name is Marcus Williams. I'm currently a member of the planning board. I've been in Marvin for 5 years. Also a member of the board of adjustments of the Village of Marvin.
No, we can't hear very well. It's hard to hear.
We turn the volume up.
Okay. That's it. Okay. All right, so I'm Marcus Williams. I'm a member of the planning board as well as the board of adjustments. Been in Marvin for about 4 years now. Love the area. I decided to get involved in the community as the next step in progression in my life, and I'm enjoying the process.
Hi, my name is Joseph Barbara. I've lived in Marvin for 18 years. My beautiful wife Jennifer is in the audience. We've got a daughter that's in 5th grade at Marvin Elementary. We have a son who's in 1st year at West Point. We love living here in Marvin. It's a great area, a lot of great people. 3 things that I'm kind of standing on here is I want to keep our taxes low. I don't want things getting out of control on our taxes. Number 2, I want to keep our density under control. I don't want high density housing in this area. I want to keep things single family. And the third thing is, and I know it's tough when you're trying to communicate to the masses and whatnot, but in the 18 years I've lived here, I've seen the tone in our village go in a direction that it shouldn't be. There's a lot of good people here. I mean, all of us. We've got good families, we've got good kids, we've got good grandkids, and I just think the tone needs to change a little bit, and it's not really led by any one person. It's kind of all over the place, and it's kind of, sometimes it's both sides. And I think Jamie made a comment the other day that sometimes we take things sometimes too serious. He said that in a meeting, and I actually agree with that. So those are the 3 things that I'm standing on. I thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me be here.
Hey, I'm Angel Martin. I've been in Marvin since 2018, and I am married to that good-looking man in that blue shirt right there. We've got 3 sons and a grandson and a granddaughter, and I am a member of the planning board and the board of adjustments, and I'm running for council. I tend to agree with what Joe's saying. Definitely feeling a little bit of division in the town, and would like to get back to being neighborly for sure, and keep the taxes low and just keep it a wonderful place to live. So, thanks for letting me know.
Hey everybody, I'm Fred Olreza. I've been here for about 5 years. We have 3 kids, 2 daughters, 1 son, Review, Marvin High, and when we graduated Marvin High 2 years ago. We love it here, and I've seen it change a little bit, in that time that I've been here. And when we moved here, we were fortunate enough that we could have gotten here. We really love Marvin. We love the low density. We love the low taxes. We love that it was kind of the opposite of where we came from. And we wanted to stay that, the way it is. So I agree with both of them. Low taxes, stability. I think all of us really kind of want the same thing, Maybe different ways to get there, but ultimately, right, we don't move here for the same reasons, right? And that's it. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
I'm Tom Beck. I've been in Marvin for just about 4 years now. We live in Marvin Creek. My wife Elizabeth and I have 3 kids. The youngest graduated from Marvin Ridge a couple of years ago. And I would say, the same things that my Marvin United candidates have said, is that I'm focused on reasonable growth. I'm focused on preserving a good tax base and a right allocation of those taxes. But I think more than anything else, and the other folks touched on this, is really restoring civility and decorum to the Marvin Village Council. And it's right, it goes both ways. I think that there needs to be a amount of respect on both sides, listen to both sides, and just treat each other properly. So.
Thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate the opportunity to hear your vision for what you guys stand for. I have come to Providence when the neighborhood roads were not maintained by the Village of Marvin, and instead of DOT. Marvin United candidates have said they do not undertake on the roads multiple times. As a Providence homeowner in other neighborhoods like Wind Hall, Marvin Creek, and Royal Pet, is it fair for me or others to pay the same taxes and receive less services? If you or me, would you want to remain in the Village of Marvin? If so, why? And if these neighborhoods left the Village of Marvin, what would happen about those taxes? Lauren Thomas, thanks. It's a general question. So very simple. Guys, as anyone take on roads, why would I stay in the village? Why would the neighbors stay in the village? And if you left, what happened?
Yeah, no, that's a really fair question, right? And I think, fair on that also is it fair to the person who doesn't live in a neighborhood to pay taxes that go with all the neighborhood roads, right? So I get your point, and it isn't fair, right? So I think it's a split. Do we take over all the neighborhood roads, right? And everyone's paying taxes and everyone gets their roads fixed. If you don't live in a neighborhood, maybe they're in that same boat too. So do we do all the roads in Marvin? The thing with roads, and I say this as someone who's built communities, right? So I was in private equity before this. We owned and operated most of the mobile home parks throughout the southeast, right? And I've managed over 2,000 communities, so about the same as Marvin. So we've done a lot of roads, we've built a lot of roads, we've built a lot of communities. It is really expensive, right? So if you're talking about only the neighborhoods, it's really like traffic, so it's not so bad, right? But it's an amount of money that I don't think we're really budgeting for, right? It's about $350,000 a year is what it would take to maintain 30 miles, let's say, of roads throughout Marvin, which is a big expense, right? And it could be done, agreed, but I think another pathway there might be to help neighborhoods take over their own roads. A lot of neighborhoods do that. I know in some places the DOT doesn't want to give them up to small neighborhoods because the feeling is that they're not going to maintain them. So we live in Weddington Chase, right? So we're also so they seal coated the entrances like 2 years ago. It was like $150,000 on 4.5 miles of roads. There is no difference to that road and our main stretch that They both need to be seal coated, which will double the cost of fog safety, right? And then you're going to have a couple years to where they need to be stripped and redone completely, which is going to be about 3-4 miles, right? So you're getting up close to several $100,000 there, right? And that's just our neighborhood. There's lots of neighborhoods like that. It's a big expense that I don't think people.
But I'm paying for your roads. What I said,
I'm with you. What I would love to do is give all the roads back to DOT. Right? There's a reason that states. I pride myself on doing the impossible, right? Especially when it's bureaucratic. It might not be, but I think we should try. Right? DOT might want them back at 95% or better. Right? I think we have to budget, assuming that we will have to take over the roads. If they won't take them back, I think it's fair that yeah, we do take over some of those other neighborhoods. Right?
I know what you keep saying about
Because it's too expensive and they don't want to do it. Right, and that's well, here's the thing, right? So we talk about state, which is like a huge amount of money. And the states don't do it by themselves, they do it with a huge amount of money from the federal government. And they don't have the money for it, which is why typically you only see cities doing this, right? Not tiny villages of 2,000 people, right? Like if the state can't afford it, I know we're an affluent community, but like it's 2,000 people. They're broke. I know they're broke. Right. If the state and federal government isn't enough to maintain the roads, like that should tell you something. Maybe this isn't a fight for $2,000. It is, but it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
I agree. But I think the first thing to do is try and give the roads back, but budget in case we can't. Right?
I look forward to asking questions as well.
I think everybody should get a chance to have some questions.
So I just want to go on record. Back in 2012, when I was elected mayor, I actually sworn in 2013. They were discussing this, and I told them, all the council members, none are here today, and I think they're all gone, but told them there's no way we can do, because we were at 5 cents back then. You have to be at 5 cents. You're not going to lower the tax any more than 5 cents if you're in Powellville. So if you want to get out of Powellville, you're basically, I don't know how you're going to give the roads back, because we've already asked them, and they're not taking them back. And then what goes along with that? Do we have to give back all the Powellville money as well? My view is we can't be, excuse this, half pregnant, okay? We're in it. Now we have to make it even for everybody else. We're slowly taking them over. From a tax standpoint, we are 12 cents less than the closest municipality that handles roads. 12 cents less. So we're not going to be able to give them back. We have to move forward and get the roads all under Marvin. I'm a true believer, if you want something nice in your life, you have to own it. At the end of the day, you can't rely on the state to take care of it. The state is a mess, and they're running out of money every time we have a hurricane. So there's all these reasons they come up with. They are not going to take the roads back. We have to grasp the fact that we are going to own all 30 miles of roads and treat everyone the same.
I've talked to DOT numerous times. They tell me that they have a sheet, they start at interstates, U.S. interstates, state roads, and they go all the way down. And the very bottom is neighborhood roads. And he says, we fix some if we have any money left. And he says, most of the time that is not so. You have a bridge out here on Ray Road, you got trees growing out from under. Since they do not cut shrubs anymore, they use chemicals, they're not able to do anything with that. And they're residents also just let it happen. That's what they're letting happen on the road. Let it happen. And somebody will get like Marvin. You want roads, everybody have the same road, they all pay the same taxes. They just let us, they would let us do it, and they would not help us.
So neighbors that don't take a road on
And they would go up. Because right now, you got 5 cents to change. You take 2 pennies out of it, make it down to 3. One of them is for the police. The other one is for the roundabout to go in. So really, to maintain the village right now, you're losing at 3.65.
So we live in Bridle Path. We had our roads paid once, 2007 when we moved in. There was a bond with the builder. They were going to repave the roads. Builder went out of business. They left the bond with the county. We never got our roads repaved. So we have roads in our neighborhood on the Bridle Path side that are 18, 19 years old. I agree that the DOT will not take these roads back. DOT has a biennial budget of $15 billion over a 2-year period. They've already baked it for 05 and 06. We're not getting anything, folks. We're not. So, Mike asks an excellent question. Why the heck do we stay here if we're paying in to a system that isn't giving us the basic services we're told we should have? I agree with you. Anybody that is a like-minded business person would actually think that. So this is where we have to analyze wants versus needs. If we need to take care of roads and we're all in and we can't be a little bit pregnant, as Joe says, and he's right, we got to go all in on roads then. We can't have other projects in the village that we maybe like to have that are on surveys that, really connect Marvin with greenways and things like that. This is an expenditure that is major. And unless we want to have taxes that are not at 0563, but at 11 cents or 10 cents, we can get it done with the revenue we have, I think, but we got to tighten up on other spend. And I think everyone in this room, everyone at this table, leadership, wants the best for our village, but we're going to have to ask some really hard questions and really reflect on, is it all about roads? And if it is, which we're kind of forced to be in it, the money has to go there unless a magical pot of gold lands on our, lands in our driveways. That's where I'm at on roads.
I just want to know, this is the precedent for how questions are going to go. We have about 20 people who want to ask a question.
Thanks for indulging us. This is a really big issue. Yeah, it is. It is a big issue.
Okay, thank you. And Brandon Smith is after me. Do you want to just do that after we have questions? The next person, you just let the person know who is next in line. My question is for the incumbents. I see Andy Woodman is not here, but Joe Polino and Wayne Deckridge. Do you feel it's appropriate to use taxpayer governmental resources to disparage opposing candidates and citizens by name, most recently during the council work session? And do you feel that it's legal?
I don't believe I disparaged anyone in the most recent.
The most recent, you were saying at we, and it was hard to understand if you were saying we as legislative candidates or we as you as mayor, but you were talking about the Marvin United slate of candidates being a little on the fence about being here tonight.
Well, we weren't sure because we couldn't come to an agreement on
Are
what.
you talking we as a mayor, or are you talking we as a political candidate at the government meeting?
Well, I was explaining this was more of a community service point to the community about what was going to happen. This group was still going to,
We as you as a political candidate while you were in the mayoral seat.
we as a group were discussing the comments with the other party.
While you were in the mayoral seat.
Right, but we have what's called council comments as well. And we can comment and just to let the community know what's happening. That's all the intent was, is to let the community know what was going to happen for this Tuesday night. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, do you feel that's legal?
I also did not disparage you.
When you had a violent gesture of throat slitting to a September work session, public comment, to a citizen insurance litigation authority.
Remember that?
It's on YouTube.
In a work session?
Not sorry, not a work session, at a regular council meeting.
No, it wasn't.
There was a public comment, and you made a gesture that I'm not going to make because it was very uncomfortable to make, but it was a cut off this person in that public comment. Do you feel that's appropriate, and do you feel that's legal?
Well, it's legal because you have your First Amendment, as I have told you. But I don't remember. I'm guessing you will be say I did this.
Yes, that is what you did.
I did not do it, as far as I know, and I would like to see it.
Sure. To my husband, sure.
Yeah, we will make sure that happens. Thank you very much. And do you feel that's appropriate? Do you feel that's legal to do that?
It is if I was talking to somebody out here, like Randy said here, and time's up, she's trying to keep it, I'm probably getting to know, said it's time to cut it off. If it's time's running out, I don't know.
It's not what happened.
The culture what we're sharing is there's intimidation, there's a lot of confusion. Do you feel it's appropriate to do that in your seat on council using their water sources?
Move on.
We're here to talk about community.
Yes.
There are some legal.
There are some legal issues that are going on currently, and we're not going to get into that at all as far as the questions. We have questions about the town, what's going on.
Thank you very much. And Marvin, can I say you're welcome to answer that question as well. You feel like that's an appropriate thing to do?
Hello there. My name is Brandy. I'm a local Marvin resident. Tori Comiskey is next. My question is to everyone up at the front. In 21, I was new to Marvin, and I was walking neighborhoods, meeting my fellow neighbors as a previous candidate, and I was talking to a lot of people being new as far as what were concerns in the Marvin area, what we want. I sat down on numerous occasions with some of the incumbents about things that people were talking to me in the neighborhoods of concern, and a previous survey, I think in 2017 or 2019. I was glad to hear Mr. Paulino say that we were going to put this GO bonds on the ballot for the people of Marvin to decide. I thought that was an amazing idea. So I was excited to hear him say, we'll let the people of Marvin speak to what they want. That will be our mandate. 83%, I think, people in Marvin said no to the GO bonds. Absolutely not. It was very overwhelming. It was more of a response than any election we have had here in Marvin municipalities. So I guess my question to the incumbents is, what changed for the people of Marvin speaking for their voice and saying what they wanted, and you going ahead and raising taxes to move forward with that plan that Marvin residents said no, they did not want, and the newcomers coming in, will you respect the people of Marvin and work with the citizens and I guess follow a survey as such or on a ballot what Marvin residents want, or will we continue to be ignored?
Okay. Been here now 12 years, including this slight tax rate increase. I have increased taxes in all the boards we've had 3 times. The first time was for officers, 1 penny. We raised it. We got a lot of grief because it was presented as 5 cents going to 6 cents. You're raising your taxes to 20%. Well, you're correct, yes. But you went from 5 cents to 6 cents, and we got a full-time officer. That's what the community wanted. So we listened to the community. The second time was to pay for a roundabout and to pay for inflation. That was the second increase. I think it was just over 8 cents, or right around 8 cents. The third was we had a huge valuation increase from the county. They do it they're supposed to do it legally every 8 years. They did it 4 years ago, and another one this time. Property values, as we all know, I jokingly say I don't know if I can afford to move back into Marvin right now if I ever left, but property values have gone up quite a bit. We reduced our rate to be revenue neutral plus a little bit, and the reason I say that, we have to be at 5 cents. So if they're here telling you they're going to cut taxes, if we're going to stay in roads, we have to get Powell bill funds, we have to be at 5 cents. I have the document right here to show you after. We have to be at 5 cents. So basically all we did is inch it up 0.63 cents. What's that for? It's for the future roundabouts because the bonds, it's clear to us, they didn't want the bonds. That's fine. That was a finance option that we gave the community. Do you want to do this? There's economies of scale involved when you do have funds that you can do everything all at once, by the way, because right now we only do about $25,000 a year in trails, and when we put it out to bid, it's small little portions. So if you're putting out to bid 500 feet of trails versus 10 miles of trails, you're going to get a lot better price if you go to that. So that 0.563, whatever cents it is, above the 5 cent rate is to fund the roundabout that is coming down the pipe. So, and that's not even going to hit the mark. That number's going to go after. We're going to have to fund that number because we're on the hook for quite a bit of money when it comes to the roundabouts. And I don't know the numbers. I think I think I was told $900,000 is for the roundabout at one of the 2 roundabouts. So I've only raised it 3 times. One was for officers. One was for increase in the inflation, as well as the roundabout. And this one, we went back from 8 cents to 5 cents because we have to be at 5 cents. And then we added a little bit more to pay for the road.
So, we're paying attention to the go bonds and what people voted because it was overwhelming that people did not want to fund these things. One of the concerns that I have is the $4 million Marvin Loop that we don't have it fully funded, but yet we're still pursuing it. So that's a concern for me. Why are we moving down that pathway when people said they don't want to pay for it and they don't want to incur additional debt? Another thing that we talked about, or that we've tossed around, is grants. And most grants have some kind of a match. So it's not always free money. And yes, there's some grant money there for that, but it's not all of it. So I think what our plan is, if we're elected, is to get in and basically look at everything that's been contracted, look at what we have to move forward with and what we can cut based on what people want. And I don't think trails, greenways is one of those things. So that's where we are. We're not. So, and I guess that's a misconception that's being tossed around with us. We want to keep taxes low, but we're not talking about going below 5 cents, especially if we have to maintain roads. We can't. We understand that. But we also are not looking to, get them up to 8, 10, 11 cents either. So, if we maintain what we have, that's one thing. But we're not looking at, we want to cut where we can. But I don't think that that's going to involve cutting the tax rate any more than what it already is. Yeah.
I just want to, Mayor Molina, thank you for your explanation. I think you may have left out one tax increase, or 2 tax increases. One was the car tax, and then in 2020 2022, and the renewal of the car tax in 2024, which was supposed to be a 2-year deal. So there's another tax. And when I was talking about civility, I was really talking, I mentioned it was like going both ways. So I think this room needs to exhibit a little bit of restraint and civility when people are talking. Thank you. And then one other thing I just want to address with Mayor Polino's remarks with respect to the financing option, when the GO bonds were rejected by 80% of the voters. That wasn't a rejection of the financing. That was a rejection of the trails themselves and the $20 million plan to build it out even outside of Marvin. That's what the voters wanted. And yet, the council is continuing down that path, no pun intended. So I'll just leave it at that.
As someone who sits as a board member of the Consolidated Health and Human Services Board and works very closely with people in our county as well as Marvin, there are a lot of elderly residents here on fixed incomes who don't come from neighborhoods like Firethorn, who are struggling very bad right here in Marvin and haven't reeled back from the COVID and inflation time. So just something to keep in touch that I know it has been mentioned on some of the social media sites that we're the richest town in North Carolina, but that is not as a whole of Marvin. And we need to think about all of the people in Marvin, not just the Firethorn people in Marvin. So thank you.
Hi there. Pretty straightforward question. First of all, I want to thank all the candidates for being here tonight to give us an opportunity to speak with you. This might be a little bit redundant, but this is especially for the Marvin United candidates. First of all, what inspired you to take the next step to not just be an active, engaged resident, but to actually run for office here in Marvin? And then what are the top things that you're hoping to accomplish while you're in this office? And while you're figuring that out, after me is Jason Vandenberg.
Part of it were the bond votes, right? That was kind of startling to me, coming from somewhere else. I've just never seen it. It's like 95% of bonds pass, like nationwide, North Carolina, right? Like, schools are credit, we need more schools. Yeah, it's okay. So it just seemed like really out of whack. And then it was kind of like, there's two of them, back to back. And kind of like I talked about in the opening statement, just seeing Marvin change. We moved here and it was like 1 acre lots. So like, wow, this is beautiful. I love the rural character. This is so cool. And you see like a creep, And one of my neighbors comes from Long Island, New York, and we're talking tonight. He's like, this is exactly what it was like where I grew up. And now it's the city, right? Like it's a slow creep that happens. And like maybe you can't stop that. But like there I felt like everyone's running for it. And it happened so fast. And look at my kids and I'm like, that's awful, right? That's awful. Like I love this. It kind of reminds me of like where I grew up, right? And that's the way for a lot of the parents, that I talk to. And I want to keep that, right, as long as possible. And I think there's a lot of good ideas. And I also worry about the taxes because I think there's a lot of hidden costs. Like I know we all tell everybody it's a big thing, but it's a big ongoing cost. Like the roads are really bad right now. And if we want to seal code 20 miles of roads, it's $1.5 million. Right? That's got to be done in a couple years. If you want to preserve the life and not have that really big expense of running them up and repaving them. So and that's something to swallow, right? Everyone's got to figure out, am I willing to pay that much to have roads that are nice? So I think those are quite a whole conversation for now, but that's what inspired me to be up here tonight.
I would say what actually had me first interested in local politics was the GO boards. And I was struck by the promotion that the village council had behind the GO bonds, by putting up signs, and I actually did come to post sign. I looked into it, I couldn't figure out how it was legal that a village council could promote a referendum and it was pretty clear to me that they were promoting its passage. And I think all of the incumbents here voted for its passage and voted to pay money for the size of that promoted. That's what got me interested. It got me looking at village council meetings. And then when I saw the village council meetings themselves, I saw the absolute lack of respect and lack of interest that members of the council were showing towards people. And to be fair, there were some residents that were not respectful with it. And that's not the kind of behavior that can be tolerated. And I feel like the only way to change the behavior of the village council is to change the composition of the village council.
For me, it was also the go-ons. I don't feel heard at all. I feel like we voted and projects are still continuing. We said we didn't want to fund them. So that was frustrating. And also just the lack of civility between people. I mean, we're all neighbors, folks. We live in a really small town, 7,000 people. We got to get along. And, we're not doing that too well. So that's why I'm running.
Certainly the bail bonds are a major reason. The interest would have been $11 million on that $20 million, just so everybody knows. $11 million. But I think what pushed me over the edge was the heritage neighborhood. 40 acres of trees getting cut down, clear cut, hardwood, beautiful trees. 68, 69 homes. I mean, look, I am pro-growth from a standpoint of having single-family homes built. The price of those homes, they're not cheap. There's just too many of them on 28 acres. And I think that's a real breach of trust with the people in this village of what we expect, who have been here for 4, 5, 6, 7, 18 years. People that are new here aren't really in tune unless they're seeking answers. They're not told by their realtor what the politics are here, what the ordinances are here. They see a dream world when they go to Marvin School and Joe Kerr and Marvin Road, and it's a beautiful village. But there's a devil in the details, and that's what pushed me over the edge. We have to control the growth, and it's not all about the tax revenue coming in. It's important, but we have to do it smarter.
So a lot to unpack here. Just first off, we're not doing the go-go. Okay, we heard you. We heard the community. We're not going forward with the go-go. It was a finance mechanism, and we knew what we had in the horizon, so we put it out there. You voted on it. We heard you. We were not allowed to promote it. If I am agree with that. We were not allowed to promote it in any way other than just present the facts of what we were doing. And we were very careful because we had to run everything through our attorney to make sure, and the group that was helping us, that we were not promoting anything. However, tell me how that works with the county when it comes to schools and stuff. And that's another subject. Why we're really paying the taxes. I think you're going down the wrong rabbit hole where you really should focus on the county and state level and all the fact that we don't have impact fees affects. That's why we're paying so much taxes, because schools keep coming, we keep growing. As far as the density goes, we hired 2 groups. We did a lot of research on this too when we were bringing in the Heritage District. And we hired 2 groups, came in from, one was CPNI and DFI was the other one. And they were the experts, because I asked not only our planning board, but our council, it's like, you're sort of creating a downtown from nothing, the Heritage District. Raise your hand if you've ever done that. No one's ever done that. So we had to get the experts in. We brought them in from our former planner, brought him in, I think he was with John Jones, if I'm not mistaken. They brought in this group, and they had no skin in the game, but they were basically telling us how to make this whole work. They actually made a recommendation to sell Eford Park and to try and go after other things. So that didn't happen, obviously. We still have our park. However, they basically said to us, you have to have have the walkability. So we took a 50,000-foot view of what 124 acres, and it is supposed to yield maybe 73 homes in total. 60 some of them, or whatever it is, at Jones Homes. And by the way, Jones Homes lot sizes are not much different. I think I have my notes here. I think it was 1.5 per acre, where you have Amber Meadows at 1.87, Market Gardens at 1.59, it's a multi-use, and Courtyards at 2.98. Those are age restricted. So we're trying to do a balance. What we heard clearly through a lot of people with what they wanted through the surveys is they also didn't want to move out of Marvin. So we had to do the age restricted. We found some space for that. So if you look at the Heritage District, though, at 124 acres, what that could yield in homes versus what we are allowing to go in there, because they said you needed walkability from the surrounding areas to make the Heritage District work. And there was a lot of research and a lot of time spent in there. And our hands in the middle of that bond, by the way, we were the first ones, we were in the middle of it, and the state changed the rules on us. And we were handcuffed on what we could do, and I can go into that later, but I don't want to take too much of the time. We'll get on to the next question, but happy to talk to you off to the side after this about what happened with it.
Last part of your question was, why did you run for council? As you said, the Marvin United, one of the reasons I ran for council is the charm of Marvin, the welcoming of Marvin, and how can I make a difference? And me being, financial minded, I had to and also being part of the planning board, I was able to see some of the legalities, I was able to see some of the vision of the city, I was able to see some of the wants of the people. And how do you put all that together, and how can we do a better job communicating that to the public? That's been, I think, some of the issues that come. As they said, we can bigger, we can fight, but I can sit here and give you facts, I can give you legal, but those are the three things that I saw. There's the legal side, there's the government side, but more importantly, there's the people side. And what can we do to wrap all three of those together to make a neighborhood, to be a part of? That was the one thing that we moved to for us. My wife loved the Village of Marvin. We were accepted as a minority. We didn't have problems. I live in a rural residential area, so I love the space. I love the acreage. I like the differences in Marvin. So that's what attracted me to Marvin. And the fact that I want to keep Marvin the number one suburb, in North Carolina. How could I? And that's my mission.
Marvin United talks about civility and uniting the village, but yet they have put out years and making fun of current council and decisions they have or haven't made. How is this simple? They also say they are willing to talk to residents anytime, yet they fail to answer basic questions on the village of Marvin. Ignore your points and in many cases block people asking them. I've experienced this well as other things I feel were disrespectful from our United candidates. Is this civil or consistent with leadership? Kim Vandenberg is up next.
First, thanks for being here, Jason. When I was 16, I was doing volunteer work up in Raleigh and intern for the governor in college, and I had a mindset of wanting to be into politics when I was younger. I went up becoming an equities trader, and then I went into consumer products. Long story. But I've never blocked anybody on social media. I've never interacted with you on social media, so hopefully I get a pass from you on that. I think it's great to engage whenever you're on, social media platforms. I wish I would have adopted Joe's mantra of I'm not on social media, because it's a pain, actually. There's a lot of good information, there's a lot of bad. I mean, and you got to decipher through it, and it's meetings like this that clear it all up. So if you have any questions for us, unabated, unabashed, unfiltered, unblocked, you have the floor, man. Go for it. You got it.
So I am on social media, and part of the reason why we decided to remove people off the Marvin United page is because they were calling other people names, and it was just not friendly or neighborly or productive, basically. So what we're trying to do is answer questions, and quite frankly, I would rather talk face-to-face with you than on social media. So you feel free to, anyway, you want to talk about something? I'm happy to talk to you face-to-face on the phone. Let's have coffee. Social media can be misconstrued in a lot of ways, and it's not productive, so that's my take on
it. Kind of second that, also, hats off to you. At 16, I was a derelict, is probably the best way to describe it. So I think it's awesome that you're here, Mr. Andrew Kid, and you're like-minded, and that's really awesome, and I hope you continue with it. I did 2 videos. I don't know if those are what you're referring to. I think they were pretty fact-based, going around and spoken to a lot of people face-to-face. I invite everyone to reach out to me anytime. I think social media is pretty awful. I think you get it's like reality TV, right? Like it's not like a real person, it's like a caricature of them, or like they feel behind something and they feel like they have to be a different person. And I think when you meet with people face to face, like you see the person, right? And like maybe what connects you more than why you're different. Like I've seen some heat, right? Maybe on social media, but like we were almost poker buddies. Like we have a lot of mutual friends, and I've been invited to poker games. I think we play them often. And I think, in a setting where you're just talking person to person, right? Like we're the same, and we have the same kind of problems, and we're just kind of more civil about it. I think that's what we're all kind of about, is that in person, you talk to each other and you kind of come to an understanding. Like, you gotta be more specific. So, can you, I don't, oh yes. Okay. Do you hear a question? No. Okay. That's his question. That's what you're referring to. So that was one of the things I've heard from people, is that people were, should I answer this question or I'll just clarify for you. I'm sorry. So one of the things I've heard from people meeting with them is that council had asked them to gift part of their yard for a trail. Maybe they made that up, but that's what they said to me. People had claimed that there was going to be
right up the road from Flowers Home as well as Innsbrook. That homeowner was asked outright, will you give up your front yard for basically this easement? And her garage door is already 15 feet from the road. There is no easement there, there's no path to basically be had. That was out there in, the stratosphere, and it got picked up by people. Now, people, not in the domain, but the audacity to ask a homeowner, will you give up your front yard so that we can put a path through it?
Thank you for clearing that up.
Let's be clear on it.
So that's the fear. I've heard that mentioned from people. So,
Marvin Creek, the HOA has definitely communicated that they are in fear of eminent domain from the village.
It's always possible. That's legally possible. But if they would
Only if somebody actions it.
Yeah, but exactly. So happen.
So there's plenty of documentation there about that.
We can move on to the next question.
You're welcome.
But Jason, I actually want to give you an opportunity. I want to answer your question, first of all. And social media is very limited. And there's a lot of distrust and there's a lot of fake accounts on social media. So a lot of people get blocked because of that. So that's part of it. But in all fairness, and I really appreciate that you're out here, as a 17-year-old asking a question. If you have a substantive question, feel free to ask it right now. You can talk to us later, but I'm happy to.
Well, they're one of the people that block.
Yeah, I know.
You wouldn't answer my questions.
Because there's, and like I said, there's limits to social media, and I'd be very happy to talk to you about your substantive questions later on.
Thank you guys all for being here, and Libby for being here tonight. It is definitely something to put yourself out there. I know I've been doing it for the past 7.5+ years. And Joe already said devils in the details. The Heritage neighborhood is at 48 acres, not 28 acres. Tom, you were talking about people being civil in the room and not talking while you guys are up there talking. If you get elected, good luck, because these people will be in the back of the room, snickering, talking, all that throughout your meetings. So just get ready for it, because it will happen. I want to go to taxes, and explicitly, when we had to have a reeval, we went down from 8 cents to what revenue neutral had been was 5.163 cents. We went up to 5.63 cents, half of a penny, to start funding additional roundabouts that this village is going to have. Because in a critical intersection survey, 80% of the residents favored roundabouts at Stacey County, Marvin, Waxhaw Marvin Road, and Joe Park Marvin Road. So we went up a half of a penny. Fred, on your candidate questionnaire, you said your highest priority is repealing the tax increase. So what do you want to take it down to, and how are you going to fund those roundabouts? And I'm going to go back to the bond really quick, so that's your question, Fred. But back to the bond question, you guys keep saying that it was a mandate of not to do things. So should we not do the roundabout down at Waxhaw Marvin, Wallace Road, Church Road? Because that was on bond. We voted on it, but that's what we were going to pay for it. So you guys can't have it both ways. It's either like you're not going to do anything that was on the bonds, or you're going to have to do it. Because it was not a wish list of what's going to happen, and we took all that information from surveys. So we had 3 surveys done. The highest thing on all of those surveys was trails, greenways, and parks. The highest thing on all 3 surveys. Yes, we're going to do another one, and it's coming out. You guys may have the postcard mail today, but it's coming down. So you guys keep saying, oh, we're not supposed to do anything. That was on it. So are we not going to do that right now? And again, thank you guys for being here. Louis, kudos.
Thank you for the question, clarifying some of those points. In terms of taxes, I think there's a lot of places that you can cut things, right, in the budget, and maybe trails are one of them. Town Hall is like a legit office building if you've ever been in there. Like, it's a 2,000 home community, it's pretty small. We have a lot of employees. We have the park right by Publix, which I know the town is very proud of and they do a good job taking care of, but it's a pointless park in my mind. Like, who's going there? What are you going to do there? Like, wow, look at the traffic on Providence, it's getting so bad, and there's Dunkin' Donuts over there. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I think the town could all probably come up with something that made more sense, right? And maybe was more fiscally responsible than maintaining this patch of land that no one's ever going to visit. So I think there's room for those kinds of things. I believe that council's on track. I believe 80% of people feel that way, and I don't believe there's any malice or incompetence, right, that's caused that to go off. I think you guys are all doing good, right? But I think part of the survey wasn't clear, and the devil being in the details, right? So, like, what would you like your tax dollars to go to? Roads? Yeah, better roads, right? How about trails? Trails are awesome, right? How about everybody gets a pony? I like ponies. But it doesn't say, like, which of these would you pay more taxes for, and how much more?
Do you think people thought it would be free?
I don't know what people think. But I think if you're going through a survey quickly,
What do you want to repeal the tax rate to? And what are you going to get rid of?
So what I've heard-
No, you just said it, that you can only go to 5 cents.
aware.
So if you take it down to 5 cents, if you have $1 million home, you're going to save somebody $63 a year.
That's great. I think you can.
So what are you going to take it to?
So here's one thing I heard from people who've been here a long time. They're like, I moved here from Charlotte, I moved here from wherever. I'm answering your question.
You're not. I want to know what you want to take the tax rate down to.
What I keep hearing from everybody is I keep being told my tax rate has gone down. Over the last 10 years, I paid 3 times what I paid when I moved here. So I appreciate that my tax rate is lower. We can all say I pay a low tax rate, but the reality is I'm paying 3 times more. I'm paying double. I'm paying. I get that. But everyone's like, why am I always paying more? Right? If we have to be revenue neutral, and I get that there's inflation.
Your
Right?
house is worth more.
My house is worth more. Totally. I understand.
Revenue neutral.
Can we move on?
Yeah, like this is.
Can we
Let's
move
get rid of the
on?
license plate tax.
Pardon?
So if you want to get rid of that, and you want to roll it into the tax rate.
Who else pays license plate tax?
I don't know, but I have.
That's what you get your check into.
I have 5 cars. I have 5 cars, so I pay more than most people. Yeah, make sure you get it. Make sure you get it. I have paid more than most people do.
So I was talking about stability. Let's talk about exactly yes.
Yeah, you're not going to scold me.
Well, I'm not going to scold you. I'm just going to move on to the next question. Thank you.
My trick question was great, and I appreciate you all being here. I've met all of you. I've talked to you. I've run into Amy Day earlier. You know, again, we're all Marvin taxpayers and voters. I mean, I guess if you're under 18, you're not actually a voter, but if you're over 18, you are, and you live in Marvin, you're a registered voter here. And so my question is, the survey came out. We discussed it a little bit before this started, and I was wondering, you know, what is in each one of you, and again, there's a lot of people behind me, so my trick question, what is your intent as far as how you're going to handle the results of the survey? And do you pledge that, whether it's your personal desires or not, that you would follow whatever the majority says they want in the survey? Again, not a trick question, but Ron Hamilton's task.
That's a great question, because I think you were on, and I appreciate the public announcement about the survey, but I believe you were saying on that survey, please respond, because the next council, whoever it is going to want to do what you're asking us to do. So what does happen when they come back, and if it's 3 times in a row, maybe this is the 4th time they say we want trails in a loop and we want connectivity, because that's what we have looked at. We've talked to a lot of people about how the Heritage District stays vibrant and alive, and you keep feeding it. And we learned a lot from COVID. That's one of the reasons we were told we should do another survey, because everything's changed. Well, what did we learn from COVID? You should be outside more. And that's, you know, how are you going to provide that? If you have young kids, how are you going to get them safely from one neighborhood to another? Maybe they're best friends in the neighborhood and they don't have a trail. The long-term outlook for us was to create that loop, create the trails, greenways and trails, and it tends to still be at the top of the list. So that's what we want to gravitate to. The roads are the roads. It's sort of a separate issue. What was frustrating to me is sometimes we would put out bids, and it was such a short trail that nobody came to bid. We're supposed to get 3 bids. Nobody came to bid because it wasn't enough. So, again, you have 10 miles of trails to do or 500 feet, where you're going to get your best economies of scale. It's clearly going to be on something larger. So, again, it was a mechanism that we were trying. I'd ask what you would do to because if the community comes back with this survey, and we don't know what it's going to say, what are you going to do when they want trails and they want to keep that as a priority? How are you going to cut taxes? You can't have it both ways.
if I'm mayor, I'm going to do a few things on these studies. One, I'm going to look at the qualitative and the quantitative analysis that's done. There's a statistical median and standard deviation, not to get too heavy into stats. But there are numbers that are telling. If only 10% or 15% of these surveys come back, which I've heard at council meetings whenever Austin has been up and he's been speaking, there's not a real big retention rate. Not everybody's filling these things out. So if 75 to 80% of our village is going to reap the bad spending benefits of what 20% of the village voted on because they responded with this index card, that's a problem. So we have to look at a lot of the qualitative data. The second thing is, if the 20 million was too much, which it was, if I was mayor, I would have proposed and said, let's go back with a $5 or $6 million bond, issue with a menu, saying, listen, this is the situation we're in as a village. You guys paying taxes. We want to provide value. Here's a bond issue on roads, and we're going to do roundabout 1, 2, and 3. We're going to pave roads 3, 4, and 5, and so on and so forth. And 3, this is the third time this evening you've talked about the economies of scale. I totally get that. I work in business. I deal with companies that have to do that whenever they manufacture. And I can say this right now. This bulk buying doesn't work for Marvin. Okay? We're a small-time player. We are a minimum order quantity type of village. We're not craft. We're a small, really good, quality product, but we're not a huge product. Oh, I certainly think you can put scope in a bond issue.
What did you say?
You can't put any scope in a bond issue.
Menu of bonds for roads. Everything has to be grouped together. Trails with roads. Legal when you're issuing bonds.
Yeah.
You can't have a menu.
Okay. You could have done roads alone, though, right?
You can't. It's not legal.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the schooling there on that. I don't agree with it, but yeah, no, yeah, well, the council also said they didn't do anything to, like push these bonds. There were signs all over Marvin. Who paid for the signs? The bankers? Okay, well.
You can advertise a bond, a vote for a bond. It's legally required. You know that.
Okay, so it was promoted. So don't say it was promoted.
Ordinances are there.
It's legally required.
Ordinances are there.
When you vote on the bond issue, and you have signs out there, and you're telling people to vote for go bonds. Oh, sure there were.
That is not true.
But they allowed us to print because we had to approve what they had us put out there. And we could not be in favor of it or against it. We just had to present the facts. And we made our effort to go to each community to try and explain what we were doing. And that was frustrating too, because we went to probably 17 to maybe 20 different neighborhoods and very few people showed up. So,
You never come to the Preserve Marvin to discuss any issues. You never come to the Preserve Marvin community.
She's jumping ahead, she has a star pickup.
So, the question I had is for basically the whole group of your platform talks a lot about listening to all residents and bringing Marvin back together. However, it has come to my attention that many people are having their posts and comments removed if the questions or express concerns about the Marvin United Group, even if they are being sent. At the same time, posts that clearly shame the current VOM remain up, even after being reported. From what it seems like, your most local supporters are the ones doing this, and their posts that clearly break the guidelines are allowed to stay. In addition, when residents ask questions you don't want to answer, the response often comes
is come to tonight's meeting, or call me personally, or let's meet with coffee. We don't like social media. As a voter, I believe answers to questions should be shared publicly so everyone can see them. Right now, it does not feel very transparent. Your platform emphasizes any social media, Nextdoor, Facebook, any people that have any questions. But I'm going to continue reading if you don't mind. Your platform emphasizes listening to all residents and bringing Marvin back together. But at this moment, that only seems true for those who fully support Marvin United without question. If you are genuinely committed to bringing Marvin back together and listening to everyone, how do you plan to address the issues that are creating this perception? Because right now, it does not seem much different from the concerns people already have with the current council. Also tonight, I noticed that when the BOM council received angry questions, accusations of being illegal, and even harsh criticism, they stayed calm and answered respectfully. With your group, I've observed the opposite. When something is said that you don't agree with, the response often comes across loud and angry, or if there is a question you don't have an answer to, you speak in circles without answering it, and then you silence them. How is this any different from the very behavior you are criticizing in the current council? Marnie Black.
Well, Marnie, with regard to Nextdoor, we really don't have, we're not admins or moderators or any of that, so we don't have control over what they're deleting. I mean,
so your local supporters.
Okay, but we can't, but all we can do is represent ourselves.
Right, but if you have your local supporters that you know very well, because you answer their posts that are clearly breaking the guidelines as being shaming, publicly shaming, and you're answering on there, and you're answering people on there, you can reach out to those local supporters and say, you know, this has come to our attention that this has been going on, and we're running, saying we're trying to bring Marvin back together.
But how do you know we're not?
And we're running, we're running, saying we're bringing Marvin back together, and that we want to listen to all residents.
Well, we do.
Then you don't. Then you should stress that to your supporters so they can have the same mentality. Other than that, it's going to seem like we're going to get the same council just with different people.
Well, first of all, Marvin United, we blocked 3 people, a total of 3 people, because they were name calling on our Facebook page. And we're just not going to tolerate people being disrespectful to anybody. So, you did. Okay. I mean,
I have screenshots. It's been shared.
Okay, but again,
I've got
our
emails
goal.
between you and Kim Vandenberg. So.
Okay, well.
He said I've got emails between you and Kim Vandenberg.
Okay, this is an
So like move on.
This has to do with the council. We are overtaking another meeting with some nonsense.
Okay, so, this is what I'm talking about the divisiveness in our town.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's that.
Yeah, and you guys are helping with that.
No,
to make it
but
that.
we're trying not to.
But you are doing it by not answering questions publicly, by not making your supporters actually do what you are saying you're trying to do. And what it seems like, and you guys might not be doing this, but perception is everything. And what it seems like is you're condoning it and you're having them do your dirty work. That's what it seems like. Which is very political.
You don't know me, but I will tell you.
I have no idea.
No, you don't know me, but I would tell you that I would come straight to your face and tell you exactly what I was thinking, because that's just who I am. So nobody does my dirty work. I take responsibility for my own actions. That's number 1. Number 2, you don't know the conversations that we have had with our supporters. Yes, some of our supporters are very angry about things, and we have asked them to tone it down. So you don't know what goes on in interpersonal communications. But the bottom line is, we do want to have dialogue like this, even if it's uncomfortable.
But you don't.
We're having it now. This is a prime example.
We're having it right now. That's correct. But you won't answer on social media. You only do it in private.
Marty, I'll say that I think several times on social media we've said, hey, come out on the 30th, we'd be happy to answer those questions. Do you have a question other than what we have said on social media about coming out tonight?
My question is not what about coming out tonight. My question is, how do you plan to change the perception that your group, you, are condoning silencing people, and how are you going to get that perception turned around to where you're going to be any different than the current council that you are accusing? Because right now, the perception is you're doing everything that the current council is getting accused of, just to people with different opinions.
I'm not sure I follow all that, but...
So, like, if people agree with the council, you're going to say that's why they're nice to them, all that kind of stuff. They're mean to people they don't agree with. So, you guys have different things, platforms that you're running for. So, you're nice to the people that are on your platform with everything you want to do, but if somebody has a concern or a question that you guys don't agree with or don't want to answer, you're treating them just like you're accusing the council of treating people that don't agree with them. So how are you planning to be any different? Because right now, it's not showing.
I can tell you, we'd be 100% different. And I'll tell you why. If we invited people to actually come up and talk, I gave out my phone number for anybody who wanted to call me about it.
Again,
So,
you keep saying that. That's a private conversation.
No.
You're not answering anything publicly. And I'm sorry, social
know, it's a
media.
limited social media.
A lot of people go on social media. Are you part of the council? Are you part of the council?
Hey, Randy.
Are you part of the council?
Hey, everybody. Let's move on to the next question.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Anyways.
Can you hear me now? Oh, good. Since Andy Morton is doing this tonight, and Mr. X is not here, I guess they're not running right now. So this answer goes to Joe P. Wayne, Marcus, and you can too also. I'm going to have to read this because I sometimes get off on tangents. Because of being on like Nikki said, next door, I know myself, I can throw out stuff that I believe in. When I hear all the meetings, I go to the meetings, I try to listen, take notes. And so, anyway, here's my question. Do you believe it's appropriate for Jamie Lee, Councilman Jamie Lee, I think he's still council, I'm trying, continue to serve on council when he sold his house in Firethorn and refuses to give anybody an update on his address? We went through Christina, which is the manager of Marvin. We went through Mr. Yao, who I guess he just kind of does everything, runs the meetings also sometimes. And we've also made personal phone calls, emails, and we still have not received an answer. For what? His address. His address. He's supposed to live in Marvin. He's supposed to have a Marvin address. He sold his house. That house has been, what do they call it, set for real estate for 2 years. Raymond sold his house and we sold at a reduced price. And we finally got rid of it just a few months ago. What's his new address?
Is he in Marvin?
What's his new address? Where's he at? James, you here?
I didn't know what his old address.
You know exactly where it is.
I never did.
Okay. Yeah, it used to be on the Marvin website. Now it's not. Joe, does he sleep on the couch?
I'm sorry.
Does he sleep on the couch?
He does not sleep on my couch.
Okay.
And I am not responsible for looking after him. So I know he says he's still in Marvin, and that's his intent. Other than that, I have to believe them just as I'm going to believe anyone else if they tell me they live here. So.
The rules state if he has to give his address or taxes.
Okay.
We've asked, we haven't got it. You think it's right for him to dodge our questions?
No, that's up to him. If he wants to answer the questions and stuff, but I don't know the legalities of does he have to provide his address or not. I'm not sure. But
you want people to work with
for all.
You want people to be on council? That's what you're saying?
No, I do want him to live here. No, I do want him to live here. I do want him to live here, but it's not my job as mayor to go. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, I mean,
you tried.
He talked to somebody here. Gary Rose, I think.
I'll address that when I get to
Okay, all right. So we'll see what he said to Gary, I guess. Because I have not talked to him specifically about this, but I know he was at the meeting, and I know his intent was to say, because that's what he said in front of everyone. So I'll leave it at that.
So he doesn't live tomorrow. Mark, what do you think? You think people should
Next
live in Marvin? Do you have to live in Marvin? Your address? When I come to a meeting, the first thing they ask me to do is state my address. After Mr. Dow already said my address, then they ask us to state our address. What about Mr. Hayden, who is a council member? Should he be able to give us his address?
To answer part of your question, I do not know where he lives. However, I do agree with you that if the rules stipulate that we have to provide an address, we should provide an address.
Thank you all for that. Mr. Wayne, you have anything else to add?
Next question.
As I said, I don't know where Jamie lives, didn't before.
Right, you guys know right together and like that, right?
Next question.
You go to council for how long?
Next question.
Okay, good next. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Mayor, give me the law. Here, we go. Okay. Thank you all for being here. That is a very story. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for serving. I know it's tough, and I know I'm not on all of it, but I do appreciate your service. I'm going to ask a very specific question to the comments. So that's Joe and Wendy and Andy can be here. But Joe, particularly you, more than one council meeting, you have boasted that during the design and construction of the Village Hall project, you saved something in the order of $200,000 by reducing the parking and eliminating the stormwater management plan. Yet recently, you all awarded a $700,000 or so project to build a stormwater management pond in the front yard of the Village Hall, in front of the Village Hall, and then take down a bunch of trees next door. Can you tell us how spending an additional $500,000 for this stormwater fund demonstrates smart financial and project management?
I don't know what you're referring to. I don't agree with that question. So I can't answer something that
That would be honest.
I don't know how to answer that question because it doesn't make any sense to me, nor have I done any of that. So.
I really don't have any idea what you're talking about. As far as waterworks in front, the DOT took a pipe and ran it across from the property down south, right onto the property, and told us that we had to live with it or fix it. Because that was the only place they had built it, but not running anywhere else. And that was when I first got on the council. And it was a big issue as far as what to do with the extra water. And we were told to take care of it, because they've done their problem. They take it from one side of the road to the other.
No.
Talk very loud. Can you hear me now? All right, Council. Actually, thought that was a sign-in sheet, but I do want to bring something like one of the other ladies said the same thing. My husband and I have been here since 2004. We've been here 21 years. I've seen Marvin change a lot. Some of it I like, some of it I don't like, but that's just the way life is. And since my husband and I were both pharmacists, we both retired now, and we came here, we had high-end, high-level, high-income jobs. We do not have them anymore. The taxes are about to drive us out of our home that we've lived in for 21 years. And I would like all of you all to have some consideration when you have all these, what I consider sometimes frivolous spending of my tax dollars. Be considerate that everybody that lives in Marvin is not wealthy. You have poor people who live here. You have older people like my husband and me who aren't working anymore. We live on Social Security. And what will their retirement we have left after the Obama stock market crash took half of our retirement? So I just think anybody that's on the council, I don't care who you are, you need to be more considerate of those type of people. And I would urge, if there's any elderly people in here, senior citizens, to write your state representatives, because I've been told as far as real estate taxes, which sort of goes along with theirs, has to be decided by the state legislature. Well, they wasted our tax dollars doing a study. I think it's a waste of our tax dollars to do a bunch of studies and stuff. That's another thing I've seen in my life. But anyway, I urge you to contact your state legislators and see if you can get them to do something for the elderly and low-income people who live in the area.
Understanding that your house is going up, taxes happen, but I understand it would be nice if the state gave us a Homestead Act or something when they would be converted, but that's state level. As far as what the state does to us, like some of the people who said told you, they tell us what we can do and what we cannot, and they give us a narrow road to go down.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying that when you decide on projects to spend money on, which then raises Marvin taxes, to be considered when you're spending that money, is it frivolous that people in wealthy neighborhoods want, and I've said this to some of the other ones, I live in the Hall Farms, and then there's Providence Estates. I feel like we live on the other side of the tracks, because I pay my taxes, which are cheap for the house I have, but I feel like all the projects are over here on the other side of the tracks. And I think that's something else you have to remember. Everyone that lives in Marvin, they consider everyone that lives in Marvin when you make decisions. I mean, there's 3 roundabouts here. You know, you can throw a quarter at each of them. And they asked that a police would be put on Orange Grove lights on Marvin Road 2 years ago. And the comment was made, we'll look into it. And the sheriff's department, they don't show up all the time. If you can, I've seen the poor guy standing in the sun, in the rain, in the snow, in the sleet. And our sheriff's department and our police officers are great people. And they're there. If you tell them to be there, I know they're there. Nothing has ever been done. It's an extremely busy intersection. If you need to pay those officers, ask Waxhaw to contribute, because more people are coming from Waxhaw.
We have asked Waxhaw. We have asked the county. We asked the officers about doing it. And the sheriff's department come back and told us there would be minimum 3 officers, 3 hours each. And they also declared that it's too dangerous for us to do that. After we got through doing all that, we did go through the process.
You couldn't get more dangerous than Marvin and Newtown. I drove that many times when I walked in town.
You know, see the spotlight, because when you go to the morning late at night, they wouldn't be seen out there, because they never.
Exactly.
The big
There's a spotlight there too. Okay. Thank
comes to officers. They did require 3 at one time, and I said, okay, so you won't do less than 3, so we had a minimum that they had to do per hours, and it's voluntary before all these roundabouts went in. And I think that, when you look at what we're spending for the roundabout there, or what's on the hook for that, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, is it $900,000 our share? $900,000. I should be getting into the roundabout business because it's crazy what they are suggesting that corner is going to be right at Mons Grove. $900,000 is our share. Then the state is putting in some in, and the county is participating too. So they're hitting it from all ends. Guess who's not participating? Waxhaw. And guess who most of those cars are coming from? Waxhaw. So that's where a lot of the traffic and a lot of the growth is really coming, where they allow up to 4 homes per acre, and we're trying to stay at 1. But we are, the Heritage District's a little bit different, and we're trying to create avenues for people like yourself to move in, whether it's age restricted. Well, guess what? The age restricted prices went up. Even with Jones Homes, I asked him, what do you think the prices are going to be? He was quoting maybe $700,000-$800,000. Jones Homes, they're already over $1 million there, and that's walking into it. So hard to control what the market is doing when it comes to stuff like that. But I understand it. We look at it as, I try to get so creative because I refuse to go down the path of these officers. We had to have 3. I was looking at construction companies. And let's just pretend it's road work and put some cones out there and get a construction company to come up. They would not allow us to do that. And we would have saved a lot of money. We would have put, at least get traffic to go. We are trying to think creative ways to do this on the shoestring budget that we have. That's why hearing that they're going to be cutting taxes, I want to know where. You need to do a deep dive into the budget that I have up here and look at, there are not many places where we can, once you put a shovel to something, anything, whether it's a trail, a road, you have to put a budget to it. And we're growing rapidly. I was promised way back in 2012, within 8 years, we'd have everything under the umbrella. It has not happened. And it is clearly not fair to the homeowners like yourself, maybe, if you're in a neighborhood that doesn't get the road serviced or maintained, you're in that situation. You're paying the same tax, but you're not getting the same service. That's not fair. I don't care anyway, for them to say, oh, we're just going to stop, I think that's irresponsible. We have to get there. It may mean raising taxes. That roundabout, that's just one roundabout, that $900,000 that we have to come up with. And then the other thing that was mentioned about grants, guess what? That grant money is money we already been taxed on because it's coming from the state. So we were already taxed on it. But the way they do it is, say if it's a $500,000 grant, which by the way, we have commanded, I think we're over $4 million in grant money that we have come up with, our staff working with these groups. Well, we just don't get to do it. What you have to do, say it's $1 million project, there's a $500,000 grant, sign me up for that. That's 50% off in my view. So yes, I'm going to focus on that and look at that. Does that really make sense? And is it in line with the community and what they want? But that $500,000, we have to come up with a full $1 million first. And then we participate with our $500,000 until then we get reimbursed. So we're not just coming up with $500,000 because we're being granted $500,000. We have to come up with the whole nut, and then we get reimbursed. It doesn't make much sense.
Fiber optics is being put all around our neighborhood. I called the office and I said, when is Mount Forest going to get fiber optics? Because it put the insurance all around us. Oh, no, that's find out. So they said, well, we don't know. So here again, we're on the other side of the tracks. We're getting
actually, a comment on what you were saying, and it's kind of where I was getting to earlier, where the tax rates are lower, but everyone's effective tax has gone up, right? And you know this from business, Joe, like sometimes you don't see the forest through the trees, right? So no one ever thinks that there's fat to be cut in every business. Everyone's got it as lean as it could be because you're in the thick of it sometimes. So you don't see the things because you were there, right, through all of it. It all made sense in that moment. And sometimes coming in with fresh eyes, you're able to look at things and see things. Maybe this was frivolous, maybe this is extra, maybe we don't need this today, but we did years ago, right? So I think there's always time for fresh eyes to look at something and the need for low spending or make some cuts where it makes sense that can save money for everybody.
Deep guy. But realistically, let's be honest, this is an important question. Deep guy. I think I see that. Christine Palmer.
She spent $221,000 on, I think, recreation and culture. That's in the budget. We're not going to that's one fact. We're going to go down this road. I got the budget for you now. All right. Right here. Is this all? Culture and recreation. $220,150. We don't know. We're going to find out. When we win, we'll find out and we will dig in and find out exactly what
Thank you, Councilman Mike.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being here this evening. I have a question for Marcus. It's actually a question we went to the first question earlier. Based on records, I read that you were not even a registered voter and you filed for this election. Can you explain why you didn't participate in previous local elections?
Yeah, based on my business, my logistics business, I had to be registered in New York State. And once I became on the planning board, we moved all our vehicles here, and then that's why I decided to register.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the candidates coming. You guys see yourself out here. A lot of questions, a lot of hard questions, a lot of debates. And it's good. I'm glad we're all here. Appreciate you guys taking part. I do post on Nextdoor occasionally. Very often occasionally. For me, it's all about the facts. It's just the facts. I'm a numbers person. So my recent post was look at the budget. Or excuse me, not the budget, the audit financials from Sam. Audit financials from great. I decided that Jennifer and Christine are very helpful. And they requested them to responsibility to shout out to Jennifer and Jill. Jill and Christine are very good. So I looked at the expenses for the town. 2020, roughly $1.3 million of expenses. 2024, $2.8 million in expenses. So they went up 133% over 4 years. Now, this is about Jamie Lee for a second. I emailed Jamie Lee a week and a half ago. Jamie, what is it? He lives in Marvin. He called me yesterday, and there's an old conversation. He said, yes, he lives in Marvin. And so we were very good, and he said he does live in Marvin. So I took another word for that. And he said, although he's not on next door, as I think those of you that are not on next door, he does look at my post. And so what his comment was, while your facts are right, they're out of context. So we had a nice conversation. And he said, a couple things you included, you really shouldn't. We're now in the waste business, we weren't before. Okay? We had a second deputy, which we didn't have before. Okay, good point. So if I back those things out, the expenses went from $1.3 million to $2.4 million. So about 88% the last 4 years. Expenses, 88% up. Yeah, that's the spending side. That's for the audit financials in town. That goes up, so audit financials.
moved here in 2019. So I looked at the taxes since 2019. I've heard 3 times, more than that. So 2020, tax went up again. There was one tax increase. 2021, with the Union County tax reevaluation. Villages have an option of making that revenue neutral. Marvin did not. That's my second tax increase. 2022, a vehicle tax fee, $25 per vehicle, was going to sunset in 2 years. That's my third tax increase.
35 now.
2024, the vehicle tax went to, I think, $30 an hour. That's my fourth tax increase. 2024, tax rate went from 6 cents to 8 cents. That's my fifth tax increase. Last year, with the county reevaluation, those did not make that revenue neutral. That was my sixth tax increase since 2019. Okay. We now have wage services, $250. That is in essence a tax. Now, if you give me a service for it, without that. So include the wage services, that would be 7 tax increases since 2019. That'd be a 3.2 times increase. Okay, you don't include it, take out the wage. It's only 2.5 times. So I looked at my taxes specifically. All right, my taxes went up 4.5 times. Back out the wage, it's 2.9 times. I think that makes sense. So I look at your taxes, it's public record. Your taxes went up 3.6 times. Andy's not here, he should kind of say his taxes went up 6.6 times, including wage services. So my question for the incumbents is, and also, if I'm talking to you, we're going to have more tax increases, more roads, we're going to more taxes. So at what point does the tax and spend, when is that going to end? That's my question for the incumbents.
Did you include the service debt for the village hall?
We'll almost end.
Did you include the service debt for village hall? What we're spending? Okay. We are looking at every different angle. I don't know what the specifics is. You can make numbers work whatever way you want to work them. I'm sure they are. But as far as the waste goes, we actually saved most. We gave you more services. Okay. And the reason we wanted to do that and standardize on it, because if you think about it, in the past we had 3 different companies driving on our roads. Okay. We own the roads now. We want one company and not 3 different companies. That tears up the roads. Would you agree? Okay. So we also give you more services. And we're doing it as a fee, not a tax. It's a fee. It's the same fee you paid that garbage company before, but you were paying a little bit more in that fee. If you did it as a tax, if I have $1 million home, I'm being taxed on that percentage versus someone who has a $500,000 house. It's a flat rate fee. So you can't include any of that in there. And you talk about your things on.
Wait, just for a second. There's 7 other communities in the county that provide these services. All seven include the tax.
Who cares? You can't look at it. You can't say that's honest.
No, I'm not arguing for services. You do it.
We get better service. You get more for your money, and you're paying less.
So let's take waste out.
Okay.
We're up 2.5 times.
Okay.
Taxes, when's we going to
Well, we're not done with the roads yet. Again, go back and look at the audio back in 2013 when I was pounding the table, and the mayor, by the way, doesn't have a vote. You can't do this at 5 cents. We're 12 cents different than the closest municipality that handles roads. So we're upside down with it. And we've tried, in a sense, to get creative with financing, whether it be a bond, because quite frankly, I'd like to see us take over all the roads, have the dust settle, and get a good idea of what it's going to take going forward to maintain these roads, because I believe we need to do that. That's got to eventually happen. It's not fair. We'll start losing people by de-annexation because we're not treating our own residents fairly. So, yeah.
Gary, I heard all the raises, penny here, penny there, but when you got the 8 cents, you didn't go back to the 6.5, 6.3 now. You didn't go back that way. You tax it, what you've spent might be more, but the tax rate went down.
The tax rate went down from 8 cents to 5.6. Valuation went up 68.
We don't do valuation. But you kept going up, all the tax rate going up. You need to come back down.
We're paying more taxes because it's not revenue. Cost of labor.
I mean, I can't help if your house keep going up. Mine going up too.
They're going up, but the council does not make that revenue.
We could not because of the power. But it did go down it did went from 8 to 5.63. That's the only thing I want to do.
It went down.
Yes.
All right, well, what's the next?
You know what owns Dead Berry?
What's walking in now? I'm sorry, what was your name?
So I'm going to jump off of what he asked you. So they lower taxes for this. Cutting the spend, right, I'll stop doing projects. So here's my question, and really I'm going to ask all of you, but I'm going to start with you. The current potential grant to finish the Marvin Road, our match, I think, is about $500,000 about. If you had to choose to spend the $500,000 match, or give the garbage service to the residents as a portion of our current tax base, which is about equal to the $500,000 that we would spend on the matching grant, so it's equal to either one, or not do the matching grant and take that $500,000 and put it towards the road expense or the upcoming roundabout expense. Which would you do? How would you choose? I'll start with you, Wayne.
I really don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers because you're asking.
They're about $500,000, about.
What she's talking about.
The matching grant for Marvin Road, our match, is about $500,000. So that's an expense.
For what? Nine. The roundabout is
For Marvin Road.
For Marvin Road.
For Marvin Road. Right? So it's an expense.
It's an expense. It's a difficult one. Everybody here, we all have things we want.
No, answer the question. It's a ranking question. Would you, give it a choice, would you do the match, spend that money, or could you give the residents free garbage service, which also is about $500,000?
For a year? Or you mean the rest of their lives?
Well, I think
from everybody, and I won't hear, but when I talk to people in the neighborhood, then I would do the roads. Because that's safety and that's longevity. That's
And that's my question.
okay.
Go ahead, yes, I'd like everyone to answer.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Wayne if I had that choice and stuff. I'd look at roads because we've been in this situation for way too long. It's been unfair to the community, and we got to make that right, regardless. And then trails will come with it, and hopefully we can get grants. I'm all in for 50% of what the cost would be to do something. So, and that is our money that we pay taxes on before. So we're just getting it back. We're just asking for it back.
I understand all that. Just answer the question.
Yeah, I did. I think it would be roads. Yeah, I would do roads.
To answer your question directly, I would do roads as well. And not only, there's, for me, other factors that are involved that I would like to protect Marvin. For example, what's happening from Newtown Road to 521 concerns me. So I think us having control of the roads would be better. You know, when it goes down Newtown Road, turns to South Carolina and Charlotte Highway. My concern is, what will they do with the roads if we don't have control?
That's a great point that he made. They are widening already, South Carolina, and I've already heard Union County staff members talk about how do we widen what comes right through the strip of the 3 roundabouts. How do we widen that? If we own those roads, we can control what drives on them, how fast they go, and we just limit a lot of excess and concerns on that. And we don't get into situations unless the federal government will come in with eminent domain to widen that. But
I would definitely do roads. And, we talk about trails, and trails, I mean, we can invest in trails whenever we have a surplus, and we've kept our tax rate basically the same. And with what they're doing over the state line, coming into Marvin, ultimately, it's not just going to be a Marvin problem, it's going to be a Union County problem, and I think the state would be more prone to probably widen that road and basically maintain it so that we wouldn't have to do it. I think it's a waiting game. That's just my opinion.
Definitely roads. And also, one thing I would say is that if we end up not being able to give the roads back to DOT, which maybe we can't, then I do think that we should take over the neighborhood roads, but not the major roads. I think DOT, that new town that they're talking about taking over, why? I mean, the expense on that's going to be inordinate, and I think that needs to stay with DOT, Marvin School, Newtown. But yeah, I would do it for roads.
I think we all agree pretty much on that. I don't think people really want the loop to begin with, but I guess we'll find out in November whether that happens. The roads definitely need to be done. We probably need to be spending about $350,000 annually, right? Or at least putting that aside just for the roads we already control. Taking over by the state line sounds great, but that would be the heaviest trafficked road. I mean, it's the complete other side of the spectrum, right? The neighborhoods are so light traffic. You can maybe get 20 years out of those if you maintain them. We don't. The ones that we do have, right? So it gets much more expensive. Like deferred maintenance isn't saving money. You're just pretending, and then you spend more, right, down the road. So that investment, I think, currently isn't there. My hope is that if we can get roads brand spanking new, we can pass them off to the state. Like, hey, these are brand new. I don't have to worry about them for a while. Maybe they'll take that.
Yeah, roads. And I'm going to disagree with Marcus and Mayor Polino on Newtown Road, kind of along the lines of what Fred and Angela have said, is that, it's a totally different thing taking over the major roads. It's one thing to have Marvin handling the smaller roads. I liken it to sending your kid to private school, right? Because you're paying once for the roads to the state, then you're paying again to Marvin to have your own roads. For Newtown Road, it's like paying for somebody else's kid to go to private school because we're not the ones who are using most of it. So,
I know that equals we probably and that's what we're trying to do. Just showing that little stretch flow. That's the whole.
No, that's exactly right. That was our concern, and even the county said, well, we need to pair up with whatever they're gonna do. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I struggled with saying, yeah, let's take that, and you guys know this. I struggled with this, and because I'm with you, I want to focus on neighborhood roads. Those are secondary roads the state can't even get to. They've told us that a long time ago, let alone main roads. So, but for that little stretch, that was one of the deals that they're negotiating, and basically there's not much negotiating. They basically tell you what's going to happen if you want to do something. So that little stretch of road that is a secondary road, let's call it, we can control and not have delivery trucks coming up there. We can say the speed limit's we're going to shut down the speed limit and almost make it like a speed trap that you see in a lot of these towns. You're driving, flying along the road, and all of a sudden you come into Marvin, that heritage district. We're going to want you to slow down. By default, you'll have to because of the roundabouts. But owning into the state line, we have a much bigger say in what drives on that, and yes, it is going to be expensive, but we have a say keeping our community nice and quaint in that area and not allow and the speed, obviously. And by the way, Marvin Road, we've tried multiple times to change the speed, and the state won't do it. And we're having, Andy will tell you, we have speeding issues on Waxhaw Marvin as well as Marvin Road. So, but if we can control that, that helps, I think. So.
Okay, all of you have answered the question the way I thought you would, which just goes to my point of managing the budget and only spending things that are most important. You can't do everything simultaneously, right? You can't do it all. And roads, if you took the $500,000 that's in front of the council right now for that grant, and you said, okay, great, we're going to take the grant, we're going to spend it on that, well, you're not spending it then.
But the community is asking for those trails and stuff, so. I know. Who's next?
Right here.
I think we're coming down to the last question. I think Jim's there.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I don't say no.
Don't mind, we're going to go a little later.
After the questions, my name is Bill Owens. I own property in Marvin, Texas for 20 years. I live here. Raised family, daughter, includes school, 5, 12, graduated. Got a question about down zoning. I want to know, especially from Marvin, are y'all planning on down zoning projects? I've been hearing rumors about this. I want your opinion about that. As well, how are y'all going to create any new zoning proposals for Marvin Heritage District?
What is your definition of down zoning?
Going from one zoning, like 1 acre per dwelling, to 2.5 acres per dwelling. You're on the planning board, you should know that.
Well, that would require going through a rezoning process, right?
That's up to you. You tell me.
Well, I mean, usually if something is changed, then you have to take it to the planning board, have it rezoned, and the council votes on it. So, I mean, that's.
If the property owner doesn't want to be down zoning, do you think you can?
Well, personally, I'm for personal property rights, so, you know, I I can't really speak to that.
What is the yes or no?
Well, I don't really, from a down zoning perspective, if what you're saying is, if you want to go from 5 acres to 2.5 and put 2 houses on it, what's it zoned for? I mean, we have zoning ordinances, so you have to follow them.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm just asking if a property owner does not want to be down zone, will you try to down zone that property owner's property?
I think it depends on the situation.
Do you think it's legal?
Well, I don't think that if somebody wants to not have their property rezoned a certain way, that we should be able to do it.
Because my question is, are you aware of any legislation that prevents any town from doing that in North Carolina?
Well, I know that the state has tried to take zoning away from the local municipalities, and we've been fighting that battle, but no, I'm not aware of anything.
There is legislation that says you cannot down zone the property in the municipality.
Okay.
That's something you probably should know.
Okay.
For instance, if we took,
They never said they were.
we got a property, and we took, if we took a piece of property that's right adjacent to the village home, and we've approved that as part of the heritage district. What I think you're asking, Will, is if you guys get elected and go in, you go back in and rezone what we just did. Yeah. Okay. So I think.
So, Andrew, how will you treat new zoning proposals for Marvin Heritage District?
By following the ordinances. I mean, we already have them in place.
Time's up.
So,
And will you take recommendations from the planner?
from the planning board?
From the planner?
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah.
No, I'm all the Marvin United.
Yeah, I would follow what the law is on what the ordinance, everything you guys just talked about. I would follow what the current, policy is in the village. I think every situation is different. That's a hot area through there. I just echo.
Are you for private property rights?
Yes, I am. And just to say, I would have supported the vote that was on where you live with your property had I had a chance to vote on that. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree with Angel. I think sometimes, at least it seems, the ordinances don't get followed, right? So we absolutely follow the ordinances and listen to input from the plan. Also, really big on property rights. Where we live, for our trails, there's private trails. One of the problems we have is the public comes on our trails, and it creates a whole bunch of problems for everybody. So big property rights person.
I got an additional question for Mr. Evans. Will you want to try to change the ordinances that have just been updated in Marvin?
The zoning ordinance?
Exactly.
It may need to be updated based on an updated land use plan, because the land use plan is outdated, and I understand that we're working on one right now, right? It's supposed to be every 3 years, and I understand that we're working on one now.
No, it was updated with the consultant who was updated what was legal in North Carolina for the municipalities.
Well, what's
It was all changed and streamlined
updated when?
in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I was at a council meeting, they were talking about how the land use plan hadn't been updated.
So the land use plan and the Marvin development ordinances are two different things.
Oh, totally, but one is very closely dependent on the other. You have a land use plan, from your land use plan, you get your ordinance.
So a whole year worth of Marvin development ordinances being updated, you would want to go into the land use plan that you're going to probably try to find a consultant for, and then go and change everything that's been done in the Marvin development ordinances that were updated in 2023. Is that correct?
I didn't say any of that. No.
So that's a no.
No, I didn't say any of that.
That's a no.
I'm not even
I'm
sure. I
asking
understand.
a question. Is that what you might want to do?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Are y'all going to change the ordinance.
Well, what do you enforce them?
Well, but y'all going to try to change.
Depends on what the land use plan results.
Okay. Joe?
I believe I heard some sort of comment.
Can you
And I'm not
explain
on
that?
social media.
Can you explain that Marvin development ordinance update we did?
For the Heritage District.
Well,
Well, yeah, we just did a whole revamp where they came through, and there was a lot of conflicting statements in the land use plan and how the ordinance was laid out. So we did a whole new ordinance update. We have an MDO for specifically the Heritage District, which is very specific. We have a lot of say in what can go there, the uses that could go in there. And then I believe there was another, I was making notes, apologize. There's something that's beyond it really gets into the weeds, I guess, of the NDO for the heritage. So it's very specific about what they can do. So, but again, I'm not on social media, but I think I was told that you guys were saying that you were going to try and reverse what we did as far as some of the zoning that was done.
Okay, you're on record now.
Okay. All right. As long as we're clear on that. So.
Srinivasa, public defender.
There's like 3 more questions left.
I wanted to start this off by saying my question is regarding the trails for school use, because I've talked to a lot of my kids at school, and a lot of us live within walking distance, but we can't simply because the roads are not safe to even bike on. And I think that the trails would be a good idea for that, because that would give an opportunity for students who live within walking distance of the school to get home in a more friendly way from the local environment, and it cuts down on the traffic that goes through all the schools. Because I know at least at Marvin Ridge High, we have lines that go for 30 minutes or more for students getting picked up by car. I feel that would cut that severely. I was wanting to know what your plans are for if that's possible.
For me, it's a safety issue, and it's not just getting to school. A lot of times, your friends may be in neighborhoods that either the parent has to put them in a car and drive them over to it because there's no safe way to get it. But our goal is, the overall scope of the loop and the trails, is make every neighborhood connectable. And quite frankly, that would raise the value of their homes. Now, that's probably going to be poo-pooed because that means your taxes are going to go up if your home values go up. But at the end of the day, we need to focus on the safety of kids, that whether they want to ride bikes or just go on a walk, or whether my wife wants to do a run that can safely get across Marvin Road, which she does all the time, and there's no safe pathway to do that. So there's a lot of things to do it. I would support that. And I think we just need to get our head wrapped around what we can do. There's not much we can do with trails. We only spend about $25,000 right now a year on trails. But that's a portion of it, but it's clear that that's what the community wants as well.
Noted.
Well, I think one of the problems with the trails and going to like Marvin Ridge High School, if you're coming from Town Hall, is that we're donut holes. And so we'd have to go through the chimneys of Marvin, which is not part of Marvin. They don't pay Marvin tax, so we'd have to get an easement from that, and that would be expensive. you know, to build something there with taxpayer, that with people that don't pay taxes. So I have a concern about that. And I think we need to just prioritize. To me personally, trails are lower down on the totem pole. Obviously, we want people safe, but I think roads, roundabouts, those kind of things are above trails. So for me, it would be kind of further down.
While I do understand your point about people who do not pay taxes, unfortunately, that's something we can't do anything about. So I kind of feel that that's not really valid.
So, based on what you said, you wouldn't be in favor of giving back easements, correct? Ever? Well, no. Easements are very expensive. Sometimes they're hard to even acquire, and that's where that eminent domain comes into effect, because that's where people eventually, if it's for the greater good, and you're trying to provide something, let's say down the road in 5 years, we get to the trails, we find the money, and we can do the trails. Now you got to go back and give easements, because I know there's a few that want easements. It's gone to court, and they decided in our favor at this point. It's being appealed without prejudice, so we can continue to get. But
An injunction was
at
issued.
the end of the day, at the end of the day, we're not in the business of giving back easements, especially when the HOA has said, their own HOA attorneys have said that they thought it was given away. So.
But isn't it sad that as neighbors, we have to go have lawsuits against one another, and we can't sit down and reasonably talk about things and figure things out? That saddens me very much so, and that's something, one of the reasons why I think we do need to change on council, because lawsuits are insane. Why are we suing our neighbors for things? Seriously. Well, but the point is that there's not reasonable discussions going on to avoid a lawsuit, because, I mean, why, if there was one, then why is there a lawsuit? I don't know. I mean, I don't have that information. All I'm saying is I think it's a sad state that there are litigations going on, and maybe more coming, and we can't talk to each other. I think that's a shame.
Maury?
Didn't Kim already have a question?
Yes, I did.
Kim already had a question.
You got it twice, right? That was the rule.
Oh, you're allowed to do that? Well, it's after 9 o'clock. It's after 9.
Before we move on to somebody that asked a question, is there anybody that hasn't asked a question that needs a chance? That didn't sound.
Angel, you just said that you want our ordinance followed. Which ordinances aren't being followed?
No, he was asking about the downside.
No, you just said we should be following our own ordinances.
Well,
What
I think
ordinances
that,
are we
for
not
example,
now?
let's take possession property and 11 deviation. That's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deviations, okay. But there's deviations that are allowed by law, so we are following our own ordinances. Okay, thank you. And then you guys also stated on your website that council is handing out variances like candy. Can you guys walk me through the variance process and explain that?
Well, I just told you, with possession property, we had brand new zoning that we did specific to the Marvin Heritage District, and there were 11 different deviations.
Okay.
So why?
And is a deviation the same thing as a variance?
I don't know.
You should, because you're on the planning board, and you are also on the Board of Adjustments. The Board of Adjustments is the only group that can hand out a variance. So if you guys are stating things on your website like this, I would hope that you would do your research before you state things
Well,
like
I
this.
know that there were 11
Because you guys stated the council is handing out variances like candy. So I'm just saying,
I should have said deviation.
So again, when you guys are putting stuff out there, when I make decisions, I try to do as much research as I can. When you guys do some of these things and put stuff out on your website, out on social media, I mean, Angel, you said that our attorney should be fired for giving us bad information and that easement was illegal. So I'm not gonna get into that, but that is stuff that you have said online. So I would hope that if you guys do get elected, that before you guys go out on social media, before you guys just start saying things, I would request that you please do your research, please talk to staff, because these things matter. So things like variances and using the wrong words, they do matter. So again, thank you.
Miraz Baruch. I think that's it. So.
I signed up.
Oh, that's
I would like to go back to the point on these easements, and very specifically, Angel, you said that you thought the Marvin Creek Road wasn't legal. And you
No, I
didn't.
didn't.
You want me
I
to?
talked about chimneys of Marvin. Are you talking about here?
No, I'm talking about mine.
Oh, okay.
When, at the same time, you're saying fire traffic. Fine. But the court has decided that it was okay and with prejudice. So my question is really simple for the four Marvin United candidates. And it's a two-part question. I just want a yes or no on this first one. If you're elected, will you return to Marvin Creek easement? Yes or no? Or will you let the court decide? Please.
It's not really a yes and no answer, because there may be 9 out of 10 of them are fine, but one of them is not good.
This is just one question. On Marvin Creek easement, are you allowed the court to decide, or are you to make a decision on your own?
I'd want to see all of the legal details of that before I can answer
Yeah,
that question. I'm an outsider right now, Mike, okay? I'm an outsider. I'm a taxpayer in Marvin, put my ass out here on the line to run for mayor. I don't have all your answers, man, so I don't have your answers.
Okay.
But we would research it and we would educate ourselves, OJT, right? Right, Mayor Joe? OJT, on the job training. We would learn these things, and then we would have a more informed way of looking at it. But I don't have an answer for you that I can give you. I'm sorry.
Of course, it's dismissed with prejudice, but continue.
I thought there was an injunction now that was approved.
Keep an eye on it.
But yes or no, will you return? And my question follow-up is very important, but please yes or no.
I can't answer that. I don't have all the information that I want.
Court dismissed it. So my question is simple. Will you let the court decide, or will you guys decide?
When we get Jamie and his address, maybe.
Hey, stop.
Yeah.
They are serious.
Okay, well, I guess my question is, I'm going to follow up. I'll leave with you, maybe stay on. So, no, we laugh at one, but there's an easement behind my home for the Martin Luther. If you guys give it back, why would you be mine back? Why just asking for it? There should be a court, right? You guys want to go to court. But then every homeowner that has an easement here, they're going to ask for these back too. Are you going to tell them all yes?
No. You have to have a legal reason to ask for it back. It's not just really.
Everybody can ask. Period. The end.
You're giving me hypothetical.
Oh, no, I am.
That is hypothetical. I can't answer that. I don't have all the information. No, I can't.
Our court dismissed it with prejudice. So, would you let the court decide again, or would you decide independently? It's very simple.
Is it settled law, Mike? I mean, it's not really settled law.
It was dismissed with prejudice by a court. An injunction was already on the first one, that then got dismissed with prejudice.
But isn't it under appeal?
You're not.
It's under appeal, of course.
The same judge issued an injunction following the dismissal. So I can give this information better than anybody because I'm in the lawsuit. The same judge, well, you don't need to ask them.
You've talked before where people were
I'm not
asking.
suing them.
No, you are.
It's
If you're
over.
No,
elected-
I'm not.
If you're elected, they will be being sued.
But they're not now, so they don't have all the details you guys have.
Well, exactly. All
a lot of hidden details.
Mike, you got inside information. Come on now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ron, stop.
We simply don't have
It's
all of
wildly
the
inappropriate.
information
This
to
is
make an answer like
inappropriate,
that.
and you should tell me to stop.
I'll be fair and I'll follow the law.
So you'll.
As a public servant, the law trumps everything.
All right, that's what you hear, and let the court decide. Because, again, Angel is sensitive to that. That's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Wildly inappropriate.
Do you have any statements or
Watching that civic. Yes.
anybody that wants?
John, first of all, I want to say thank you for organizing this again. I think you did a really great job. And for all the candidates, I thank you for what I consider to be a very civil discussion. So I thought it went really well. And I just look forward to finishing off the campaign strong in a civil way. And thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody who came out tonight. It was great to meet you and see faces. Like we talked about, I think it's a very different animal when you're face to face with people and you're talking to them rather than online. So thank you everyone for coming out on Tuesday.
Thank you, just like they said. And also, please, if you guys want to talk about anything, I am available anytime. Come to my house for coffee. I am not trying to avoid issues. I'd be happy to talk to any of you about anything on your mind. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say thanks too, and I learned a lot of things tonight from a lot of the questions, a lot of the comments. So it was really good banter. I do think the temperature went up a little bit, so everyone's passionate about their views. I get that. We don't have all of the answers, and no one here has all of the answers. Some of this is new. You guys have been doing this stuff a while, so we're going to continue to learn, and if we do get in, we're going to be honest servants within this village, and we want what's best as well, but we also have to watch how much money we spend. At the end of the day, if roads are it, then we have to go all in on roads, and we can't have any type of ancillary major spend that really, really moves things off of the track. So, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
I'm just glad everyone's come out here and had questions. And hopefully you got the answers that you want, the truth, or whatever you think is going on. I don't know if we'll always agree if it's roads, if it's trails, or whatever it is. Everybody wants something different. It's like Christmas dinner. Somebody will like something and doesn't like the other. But it's kind of hard to make that suggestion or decision when you're sitting there. And when you get people sitting down and asking you and demanding that they have something, and you look at what 15 people over here, 30 people over here, which one do you go with? Sometimes that's what's the best for Marvin. Sometimes it's not what the people want. You have to look at the entire thing and the growth. If you've got smart growth of things, you have to make some decisions that are not possible.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I think this kind of forum is very important. I think in our community as well. I've learned a lot as well. One of the main reasons I ran was to look at how can I be different than what's existing today, but yet understand viewpoints on both sides. Everyone has different viewpoints, and while I may support some of what Joe has or what Wayne or Andy has, I also believe in some of the things that I've heard from the other side as well. So how do we galvanize that? What's important for the community at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, we all have to be neighbors. We're all going to see each other. How can we galvanize
running, because it is a big ask of your time. It certainly was. I mean, we get way more involved than you think, trying to save the town money in the sense that Andy and I were putting in uplighting for the town hall. You might not know that, but we were digging ditches. Andy and I were digging ditches, putting uplighting to save this town money. So I've been involved as I can, as much as I can. I appreciate all the comments that were made here. I think I've learned a lot in this process. The one thing we didn't talk about was the approval of just north of Coles, that we brought that into Marvin. And I just want to point out is the biggest reason is we want to be able to sit at the table. And when you are on the outside looking in, you find yourselves, or could potentially find yourselves when the county's in charge, you get a 3-story storage facility backed up to multi-million-dollar homes. Doesn't make much sense. But we couldn't do anything because we didn't have a say in it. With what's happening north of Coles, we'll have a say in that, and I think we talk to the community next door. I think that's important. But there's just, to your point, I was drinking from a fountain when I first started, and I learn every day with this. But I always, in the top of my mind, is keep the greater good. I look at what is the greater good for the community. You have an individual here who was just talking about trails and how he can get to school safely. But yet you have roads, and I remember counting cars when my daughter was in high school. 95 cars backed up on Waxhaw Marvin Road, waiting to make a left-hand turn and stuff. So roundabouts are needed. This funding is needed. You can't turn a blind eye to that. And I think once you guys look, if you're fortunate enough to get in and you do a deep dive on the numbers, you're going to see that there's not much cutting that can be done. But again, I want to thank everyone. It turned out better than I expected. I was hoping that we would have this dialogue where we can answer some questions. And again, I want to thank you guys for coming out and dealing with the fact we were a little over time. So thank you.
Wrap it up.
And for the next 5 minutes or so, 5 minutes. Yeah, grab a chair and bring it.
Thank you.